violations, conformance with the functional and technical spec that we provided. Our company received a 37 on the grading. Our competitor received 19. That is an A and that is an F. Fail. That's how you know when you're working with the right people. Our back office, this is the chain of custody of how we get to a point where the violation is sent onto one of your constituents. The point of capture here, the details are immediately set via secure encrypted data through to RedFlex in Phoenix. We have 3 separate people within our office, 3 separate sets of eyes, who will identify, match DMV records and NLETs. And for the police officers in the room here, you all know what NLETs is. We have a strategic partner with NLETs to provide information, the accuracy of the number plates, the make and model of the cars, and the owner of the vehicles.
Keep your time.
Okay.
You mentioned something, and say you want to say something about Heath, but I'll allow you a couple of minutes.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. The thing about Heath is there's twofold. It's a very new program, and what I'd like to do is to talk from an industry perspective about Heath, and then I'm going to talk to you from a Joe Blow public perspective on Heath. Because Heath is a new program up and running, they all get a lot of airtime, and it's usually very topical. So given that Heath has been live a couple of months, I've probably visited with maybe 15 or so new cities since that one went live. And you know, news travels, people talk to each other, they're sister cities that do a lot of work together. People will say to me, what's happened with Heath? And they kind of say it with gritted teeth like, ouch, I bet you don't like hearing this question. Well, the truth is they think that we don't like hearing that question because from a general public perception, what you know about Heath is that a lot of constituents got a lot of violations in a very short period of time. And that sounds squeamish, it almost sounds ugly, it makes people nervous. Well, that's true. All of those things that I just said, they are true. A lot of people did commit violations and a lot of people did actually get citations, and it happened in a very quick period of time. So that's the Joe public, that's what they hear and it feels negative. Let's move on into the industry though. Here's what I can tell you unequivocally about Heath, and I know this because we've been working very closely with the mayor over the past 2 or 3 months. Our director of communications has helped him weekly with phone calls and emails to help him with the messaging for the city. Our account manager flies in regularly to speak with the mayor and has met with him several times. Heath, in the last 2 months since their cameras went live, have reduced the number of violations by 70%.
78.
Are we have a question for you though?
We're getting ready to
Very
go.
close. I'm just about to close on Heath. So 78.5% reduction. It tells you 2 things. One, there was a problem, a very real problem, because people committed violations again and again and again, speeding violations. So yes, the problem did exist. And secondly, we were able to modify people's driving behavior to slow down. And that's the goal. That's what I'll close on, because that is the goal. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Now we're into the question.
Yes.
Can I just touch on that?
Yes.
How have you modified their behavior though? Have you also done traffic counts? Because my question is, are the people who were going fast through that intersection,
Yes.
have you just rerouted them to a different location? I mean, do you still have the same traffic counts and less accidents, or are you just saying, hey, look, the accidents are down 50%? That could be because there's 50% fewer people going through that intersection.
It's not, that's not, those are fixed speed, and those aren't necessarily intersection related. And you've had a 78.5% reduction in violations. I don't think they've had an 80% detour in total traffic through that one location there, those few locations in Heath. And we can actually run traffic counts and actually get back to you and tell you if it's changed from day 1 to today, and I guarantee in 2.5 months, 80% of the people are not now going that particular route, because there aren't a lot of routes through Heath.
And the other question I had, and you touched on it, I wish, you know, I know you were cut short, so I'm not going to hold this against you, but I mean, the accidents that you showed us,
Yes.
you had cameras up there.
Yes.
And so, I mean, the mayor, you missed it and he's not here now, you made it sound like that if we didn't vote this in and a child got killed, it was on our fault. Well, I mean, you don't prevent every accident from happening. The 3 you showed us, you had cameras there and you still had tragic accidents. I mean,
But consistently you see accidents reduced by, we've had locations upwards of 90%. We had one location in Stallings, North Carolina. It was the 2nd worst location in Union County. It had about 50 accidents. We put cameras in at the end of the year. That entire next year they had 2. They didn't do anything else. They didn't change enforcement, didn't have, you know, more police officers enforcing. They put cameras up and they went from 50 to 2. It's a 98% reduction in accidents. Yes, we're not going to stop every accident, but we are going to dramatically decrease behavior. In 2.5 months, we've already reduced speeding violations by almost 80%. When you reduce violations, you reduce the opportunity for accidents. And God forbid an accident happens, now the law enforcement folks have a tape. Even if it doesn't trigger the camera can record 24/7 for at a minimum 30 days. Well, geez, what if we have a city employee who gets hit by a red light runner? They didn't trigger our camera going this way, but we do have a camera there and he was coming this way. Well, your city can then go back, review the evidence, look at the accident, and then find fault in that accident. Well, guess what? The city worker was not at fault. Now we know exactly who's at fault. We do that in Chicago, we do that in all of our programs. So
But
it's,
you could do that on every street corner in this city. I mean,
you could, but
you're
it's
setting up a spying network then.
it's not a spying network, it's a public safety tool. And it's a safety tool which also has side benefits. You don't have to do the video. It's an option. It is inclusive if you want it. So you can have the cameras only trigger when a violation occurs. You can have it recording 24/7 as your indemnification. Because what happens if somebody goes to a convenience store and they get robbed? What are they going to go? They're going to go ask for the video, right? That's what the first thing, police department, I'm not sure who the police are in here, but the first thing they do is, oh, God forbid, let's find the video. What happens in Europe and London when they have a bomber? They know exactly where that guy was, and those families are pretty happy that we got that guy because we know exactly where he is. And unfortunately, that's a society we live in today, and it's really unfortunate. But there are tools which can ultimately help law enforcement, not just save the safety of the public, but now those particular families who get affected by someone who would tragically maybe be involved in an accident. Now there's no guesswork. They know exactly what happened, and they can hopefully put that to rest mentally. That there's no outstanding questions on what happened with the tragic incident.
What happens when someone requests a hearing? They get down to our municipal court?
Usually hearing office or a hearing, you set up an adjudicative process, so some type of adjudication hearing, the administrative hearing process.
How much have you seen municipal courts or courts backed up because of this?
It's less than 1%. You see very little. Our violator call center in Phoenix handles about 55,000 phone calls a month. It's mostly asking, hey, I got this ticket, what do I do? They call our 800 number, we ask them if they have access to the video, or have access to the internet. They can go to the internet, pull up the ticket, watch so we literally walk them through the violation. It's all bilingual, so English or Spanish, and basically try to give them comfort. Do you understand what happened? You can pay the notice. If not, we can actually then schedule the hearing for them.
So the violators here have an opportunity, if they have internet access, to see the 12 seconds
Yeah.
of video.
And we can provide a kiosk. We generally also will direct them to a free internet source within the city. Usually the public library is a good source. So if people don't have the internet, we don't want to exclude them the ability to go look at that. And some people just want to be heard, which is absolutely their right. They don't get a ticket and they're guilty. They get a ticket and they do have an opportunity to contest. When they do have an opportunity then to go to the internet, watch the video, talk to our representatives, again, that might not be good enough. They still might want to have their day in court and go have that heard.
Does anybody from RedFlex review the video before the ticket is issued? Or is
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah, we were just highlighting that just as I got cut short. It just, we're passionate about the job. We talk a little longer than we should. Yeah, we review them 3 times internally, 3 separate sets of eyes. They go into the Department of Motor Vehicles to do a lookup, okay, to match the plates to the vehicle make and model. We can also have access to NLETs, and then we do a quality assurance inside. So an absolute independent set of eyes that hasn't seen this information before will take a look and say, yes, that makes sense, that all stacks up, address, yes, yes. Then we send it to your police department. Okay, that's not the end of it. RedFlex do not and will not ever make the determining judgment or factor.
So somebody at RedFlex has looked at that video.
And we've said
Is that a spot check, or is that every violation before?
Every
Every single violation. And every camera we certify every camera every month. We have our technician who lives in Ohio physically touch every camera in the state, and we have certification on file. So if it goes to court and the question is, well, how do I know it worked? Well, here's the certification. Here's the audit log of all the maintenance that's been on that camera, so you can certify, yes, it was working. Not only that, we also have the chain of custody. So our custodian of records signs when the image was captured, archived. Now it's in storage. This is when it was accessed to make our court package, because if you go to court, you also need to see the raw evidence and make sure that, yes, this is appropriate. This is the information for this particular violation. So literally from soup to nuts, we have everything covered.
And further to this again, it's your police department that make the ultimate determining judgment as to whether or not a violation took place.